I was covering was drag and drive. It's the best car community out there. I'll fight anybody that wants to argue with me about it. Everybody, it's like this tribe of people that are going track to track. You're 300 miles a day, 200 miles a day, driving with everybody. Everywhere you stop is a car show. It's a conversation about cars. You're just around a lot of like-minded people for a week.
Welcome to the Gearheads and Gasoline podcast, where we dive into the high-octane world of market-leading shop owners, shop employees, and automotive enthusiasts from the aftermarket, restoration, performance, and racing industries. So strap in as we take you on an awesome journey with our guests as they share their real-life stories, lessons learned, business advice, and unfiltered insights to help you beat the school of hard knocks. Gearheads and Gasoline, fueling your success.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barry out with Motorhead Digital, and my co-host is Annette Bauer with Annette Bauer Creative. We're super excited to welcome Michael Narx, the host of Drag, Drive, Repeat podcast, to Gearheads and Gasoline.
I'm excited
Welcome,
to be
Mike.
here.
How are you?
Oh man, it's a beautiful day here in Northwest Arkansas.
And you can make it whatever you want. That's the great thing about our days, right? Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, we're super excited to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to join us today. And we will jump in with, if you've watched the podcast before, you know what's coming, but we're going to kick it off with, what is your favorite drink?
Everybody that knows me knows that I'm a margarita guy. So anytime we're anywhere, it's a margarita, and then I only drink water after that. So
Nice.
Margarita.
I actually like margaritas myself, but I only get them in pretty rare occasions.
We're going to have to put a margarita glass in our merch store because we have a chocolate milk glass and a bourbon glass. And I know that our producer is a margarita guy at times as well.
I knew I liked him.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So, Michael, this is a different podcast for us episode because we're interviewing another podcaster, but you're a car guy. And my understanding is you've been a car guy ever since you were a kid. And I just was curious, how'd you get into that? How'd you get addicted to cars and racing and things like that?
To be honest, I really don't know. I will blame everything on my mom and my grandmother, though, because every time we went to the store as kids, my mom would let us get a Hot Wheels, right? It was $1. At that time, it was probably like 78 cents, to be honest. But we would always, my brother would get one, I would get one. And then that's probably my earliest car memory. And then my dad always kind of had something cool. Like, I don't know if he wasn't into cars like I am, but he always had, something he was doing something to, boats, trucks, cars, all that kind of stuff. So, and then my grandmother, she would take us to anything we ever wanted to do. Well, that usually meant car shows of some kind, or if we were driving and there was a cruise night, we'd pull in and spend 2 hours there walking around. So I blame it on them.
That's awesome. That is like, I totally can resonate with like the Hot Wheels, because when I was a kid, I had so many Hot Wheels, and same thing. Like every time I go to the store, I'd be like, please, please, please.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I still collect them. I was telling you guys before we started recording, there's like 300 behind this green screen right here, or this wall behind me. And then I've got another 400 or 500 on the wall in the shop. And then probably another 150 or 200 that are just waiting to go up somewhere.
That is so awesome.
I'm not saying I collect them. I buy the ones I like.
I think that is called collecting.
Yeah, I think maybe.
Yeah, my car collection is just what's behind me at the moment. Plus my I have Matchboxes and Hot Wheels in the old blue plastic Matchbox with little plastic trays to pull out. Those are up in the attic somewhere. I should pull those out and see if they're worth anything because they're really old.
Yeah, big funny story. I worked at Kroger grocery store in Blytheville, Arkansas. Big shout out to Blytheville. And when the new shipment would come in, me and another buddy would just go back there and get what we didn't have, right? So I graduated high school in 99, and so I have like the generations and different models and all the stuff and I guess lines that they have for 98 and 99 both. And my mom had kept those in the attic for a long time. And so I got those back. So they're all on the wall too. So it's kind of fun.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I understand, that you also have a 66 C10 that was your grandfather's. And I can tell you, one of my customers and a past guest of ours, Jesse Vaughn from Level 7 is a big, that's what they do.
Listened to that one the other day. Yeah.
And I just watched another episode that they did. I'm really jonesing to get. My wife is like, another car, but she goes, gotta get your Corvette done first. But I'm curious about that car, but then we can move on to some other cool stuff.
Yeah, so the truck, super cool. My grandfather bought it in '67 as a 6-cylinder 3-speed, and then drove it all over the country. So he was an iron worker. It's been in New York, it's been in Miami, it's been in LA, driven everywhere. I mean, in the '60s and '70s and stuff like that. So he dailied it until '92-ish,
Really?
probably. And it was parked. Well, in '92, I was 11. And so being a car guy, that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen, right? Because by that point it had a V8 in it, a 283. So for the next like 2 years, I bugged him, hey, can I drive this? Not have, but drive it as my first car. And finally, like I mowed yards, did all that stuff. I got a job at a golf course at 14, had a little motorcycle. Would spend money on the truck as I had it, right? You don't make much money as a 14-year-old in the mid 90s. And so I would spend money as I got it. Well, we ended up like, it had put a new windshield in it, put new door panels on, all the little trinkety stuff that a 14-year-old could buy. Well, I turned 15 and he's like, hey, if you can get it running and driving good again, you can have it at 16. And so I've had that truck since I was 16, and I turned 44 a month ago. So I've had it almost, I think I've probably had it longer than he did, actually.
That's so cool.
It's got a turbo LS 4L80, makes 500 wheel, and it was built for burnouts. We
Nice.
welded the diff. Everything was done on a budget. I did all the wiring, the harness, everything like that. I broke it in 2022 at a drag and drive, and my brother Steven, who owns Narx Electric Customs shop, he came over and got it back in February and got it back on the road for me, and we're going to take it on a couple drag and drives this year, so I'm excited about that.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. Like, speaking of drag and drive, I have to say, love the hat.
Yeah.
I'm a big
Oh, yeah.
Redwood Rally fan.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to Heather and Jesse. You guys are
Big
awesome.
time.
And yeah, so I just think that that's like the coolest and funnest thing, to be able to blend your history into where the future of, like, drag racing and kind of like a metamorphosis of it has
Right.
kind of moved to. So I just think that's really cool.
Well, and this truck was built like with the full intentions of being able to drive anywhere across the country, any place, put my wife in it. It's got power steering, it's got power brakes, it drives good, except for the welded diff, which is a little interesting to learn to drive on. And
Right.
she's driven it several times. It's got a really nice interior, the seats recovered, new carpet, all paint inside and everything like that. The outside is patina. So we've got, that's my jam. And so we've done a lot of stuff. It's lowered, it's got 18s on it and stuff like that. Like, it's really a fun truck, and it will do big, long, gnarly, high wheel speed burnout. Yeah.
Yeah. We have a team member, Keith, has a 69 Dart Springer that were a Swinger. I shouldn't say Springer. I said that wrong. He's building in a drag and drive car. AMD has helped us with that. Redline's helped us with that. So hopefully in the next couple of years, we're going to the local tech school in September to have them put some recorders on it. So we got a ways to go.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I'm sure we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but local tech schools, man, we're losing them, and we need those kids, man. And adults. There's a lot of adults in there too.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win.
Formulated to win.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Proven by me.
Proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
You've sold cars, you managed logistics, you've gotten into the drag and drive. How did you go from that to drag and drive? What was the biggest reason you said, I'm going to do drag and drive, I'm going to do a podcast, I'm really into this? Because you've done a lot of other stuff.
Well, let's start back. I'm going to give a quick recap of the last like 30 years, right? So in high school, I met a group of car guys, Aaron Mick, Paul Snyder. Big shout out to those guys. They were instrumental in this whole thing. Well, in high school, Aaron and I's plan was to go to college, get out, and start a performance shop / car dealership, right? My dad had sold cars most of my life, and so that was normal, right? So I graduated high school. I said, I'm going to move to Northwest Arkansas from Northeast Arkansas, and I'm going to sell cars while I go to college. Well, when you're selling cars at 19 years old and you're making good money, college, bro, I don't need that. You know what I mean? Because I was making what adults were making. So I dropped out. Aaron joins the Army. We end up going different ways. Still great friends, but he joined the Army, got out, went to work for Comp Cams, spent 15 years in Comp Cams. I spent 15 years in car dealership life and had our second daughter. And I was like, I got to get out of 70 hours a week. You're part of the B plan, be here, sell cars, make money. That's how the car business works. With 2 kids, I didn't want to do that. So I started looking, ended up at JB Hunt Logistics as a driver recruiter because I could sell. Hated that life. And then ended up, because that was on my resume, ended up at a company called Miller Zell, who does all of the signage for Walmart. Luckily through that gave me Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. It gave me vacations and benefits and all the stuff that, like, normal, typical people live with. I had never lived with stuff like that before, to be honest. And it was pretty eye-opening that you could have a regular life. So we've grown 2 daughters now. I spent almost 9 years at Miller Zell. Love those guys. They still do all the print work for all of the banners and things like that we do at Drag Drive Repeat. And
Nice.
in 2020, before COVID really kind of kicked off and happened, my father passed away in February. When that happens, and he was like 62 at the time, that really hit me hard. Like I was like, okay, life is short when you start kind of doing the math, right? And at that time, I was in my late 30s, 2 kids. I'm like, this is just something. I'm having a feeling inside my body. Well, at that time, I was already kind of doing some podcasting and interviewing on Narcoleptic Customs, our other channel, the shop channel. And so it was really growing a lot more. And when Hot Rod Drag Week canceled for 2020 because of COVID, Rocky Mountain Race Week opened up Race Week, or Rocky Mountain 2.0, and did it right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is like 2 hours from me. So it's Tulsa, Ennis at Texas Motorplex, Thunder Valley, and one other track. I can't remember the other track. Anyways, but when I did that, so leading up to Rocky Mountain 2.0, I started interviewing people. What can I expect from doing my first drag and drive? I followed drag and drive, drag week forever, Rocky Mountain Race Week forever. What can I expect? So a good friend of mine, Jonathan Soncypher, is the reason we do this. In 2013, him and I started hosting car events, and 7 years later, now I'm finally going to get on a drag and drive. And when I attended that, so the 7 months before that, so my dad passes in February, 7 months or 6 months, I take and learn all I can. I'm interviewing people. I'm doing my own research, but I'm also interviewing folks that are out there. By the time early 2022 came around, I had spent basically all of 21 interviewing people for Drag and Drive. All I was covering was Drag and Drive. It's the best car community out there. I'll fight anybody that wants to argue with me about it. Everybody, it's like this tribe of people that are going track to track. You're 300 miles a day, 200 miles a day, driving with everybody. Everywhere you stop is a car show. It's a conversation about cars. You're just around a lot of like-minded people for a week. So by, let's say, December of 2021, I was like, people at Narcoleptic Customs were probably tired of watching so much drag and drive content. January of 2022, I kicked off Drag Drive Repeat, and it's been nonsense since then. We've made tens of thousands of posts, 1,500 videos on our YouTube channel. We do 2 weekly podcast live streams. And all we focus on is drag and drive content. So
it's absolutely like
the community is
coolest,
amazing.
funnest, like 100%. I agree with you. So like last year I got to do my first drag and drive with Redwood Rally, and they hired me to cover the event. And it was like, I didn't know what to expect going into it, but like quickly after I'd gotten there and started it, I was like, okay, I can get behind this because there's so many different cars, right? Like you go to a typical drag race, like if you go to a pro mod race, right? You know, you've got a bunch of high end, really expensive pro mods. You go to a small tire race, you go to whatever, right? But like you go to a drag and drive and there is like something in every category that is different, and like everybody is like just a super cool community. It is 100% one of the coolest things to participate in, to attend. It is exhausting, but it is so fun.
Yeah, I need to go. I've never been. You know, we're trying to get Keith's card done. It's going to be a while, but looking forward to it.
Take your daily. Just go. Just go. It doesn't matter. Here's the thing I learned. So 2020, I raced and took content for Narcoleptic. So those videos are on. I built a Grand Marquis. We cut the body off of it. It's got a huge cage around it. I'll send you guys a picture of that. It's called the Narx cart. It's really the dumbest thing. Everybody should have a car they don't care about in their life, and this is that car for us. So we took it on that. It's perfect for media, right? If you're racing, you're in the lanes for 2 hours if there's 250, 300 cars. So by the time you get to the front, you've lost all that time to go talk to other racers. So for 2 years, I did that double duty. So now it's September of 21, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. My brother's a way better driver than I am anyways. So we moved my ticket over to him. He's a better racer. He's a better builder. He's a better everything than I am. So we just let him do that stuff. And now I go talk to people and get content and record stuff and do all that all day. And it's way easier for me, to be honest. But as media, as Annette learned, you don't, there's no downtime. You're gathering content when they're racing, you're editing content when you get to the hotel, you go to sleep about 3 a.m., you get up at 6 to get on the road.
Yeah. And then in between all of that, like you're leaving as early as you can without missing too much so that you can get shots on the road, or you can get content on the road, and finding a place to pull over where you're not going to get smushed, or you're not going to, you know, jeopardize you or anybody else. Like, very 100%.
So that's where the repeat comes in. Rinse and repeat. Keep going. Next one, you're out there before the other guys are, because you want to get them coming down the road, right? And get those shots and stuff. Yeah. Wow.
Well, but like Mike said, like go take your daily, and even if you don't have a car that you're like, man, this could like blow the doors off of whatever category, just go experience it. Like it is so much fun. Like even if you don't participate in it, just go and follow it for a week and just participate. Like legitimate, like it's one of the funnest, coolest things I've done. Like they asked me to come back this year, and I've got some work obligations that I'm trying to work through to see if I can make it back.
Whatever that other work is, just write it off. Tell me you're coming, because Redwood is on my list. Sadly, I can't make it this year because it's like the week after drag week, and I've got to do drag week because of Summit is one of our big sponsors, our biggest sponsor, and so they're going to be at drag week, so I got to be there. There's literally, I want to give a shout out to Jesse Fox of 3G Video. He is driving his V8 swapped 85 Volvo wagon from Maryland all the way to Redwood Rally in 3 days to do drag week and Redwood Rally. So I'm
that's
super
awesome.
excited for him. He's one of the hardest working dudes in drag and drive as well.
Heck yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. And, you know, it's funny because I want to talk about marketing for just a second with Drag Drive Repeat. So Narcoleptic Customs was easy because it was our shop, right? My brother was always called Narcoleptic in high school. So Narcoleptic Customs just worked, right? With Drag Drive Repeat, I was literally, I mean, it was a brand idea. I was like, I'm going to take this, I'm going to build a brand around it. So I need a good name. I mean, I've spent weeks on just the name.
We know all about that, don't we, in that?
Oh yeah, it's so tough. And then weeks on the design, you know, all that kind of stuff before I even rolled it out. So that's probably one of the biggest lessons I had learned then, was not just fire stuff off and get going on it and then have to change things later. So it was it's a big learning experience.
Yeah, our producer Dean, he's a genius behind the name. We had a list a mile long for this podcast, and it was tough. Talk about a lot of work. He sends me a meme one time. It says, a new business owner decides that he wants to promote his business. So he says he creates a podcast. Now business owner has 2 businesses.
Oh yeah. Yeah, 100%.
It's a lot of work. Yeah. So
yeah.
I feel like that's in everything,
Yeah.
right? Like I've signed up to do like, hey, yeah, I'll take care of that. Oh yeah, I'll do that. And I'm like I have more hours in my day. What is wrong with me?
Yeah. And big shout out to Eric White, my right-hand man, my co-host on the show and stuff. He's been with me the whole time. Or we've been together. He hasn't been with me. We've been together. And it really is, it takes a team. Like it really does take a team. We've hired a virtual assistant last year to help us collect info. When I started this, there were like 11 events in 2021. There were 20 something in 2022. There's 42 scheduled for 2025.
Dang.
Well, being the guy that is like statistical based, right? I'm always finding new records, who's run what, how,
Right.
Chevrolet, but whatever, all the stuff, who's run the fastest in the class. You start looking at 42 events. Now suddenly that becomes a real problem when you're trying to gather all of that data and just to even have it and give those guys recognition. It's full time. So I quit my corporate job in July of 2023 and haven't looked back.
That's awesome. I mean, the fact that you could do that and make that shift, like that's incredible. Like some people are like dream of doing that, right? So you held the key.
Big shout out to my wife, Melissa. She's amazing. And she's held the fort down. I traveled 17 weeks last year going to events and stuff. And she kept everything on.
Yay, Melissa.
We got two competitive daughters or two daughters in competitive sports. And
Oh, geez.
it's always time. We have something every night of the week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey guys, Jason here with AMD, and you're watching the Gearheads and Gasoline podcast. Check this out.
So with that said, you've been building this business of podcasts and everything, and you definitely are all in on drag and drive. How do you promote it? How do you get it out there? Because it is a business, right? I'd like to learn more about that. And then I got a couple other thoughts here.
So I am.
So Mike, before you answer that question, I'm going to preface this by saying the reason why Barry just said that is because Barry has gotten in trouble multiple times from asking like 3 questions at once.
Yeah, I almost went there again, and I'm like, stop.
Yep. Well, I appreciate that for sure. I don't know if I keep up with 3 at one time. I am a quantity guy, maybe over quality. Okay. Now that's probably detrimental sometimes, but in 2022, we posted more than 3,000 times on social media. So we literally blanketed everything. We've slowed down a little bit. Eric has taken more of like our creative director role. He does a lot of our flyers and artwork and things like that. So we don't post quite as much. And now instead of posting 2 or 3 times a day with a story from our that we would normally just post, right? So used to our show was an hour. We would basically kind of hit some high level topics, and now it's 2 hours for the show live on Wednesday nights, and then Saturday mornings we do an hour-long news. So no guests on Saturday, but generally 1 or 2 guests on Wednesday night. So it lets us kind of dig in. So we have 3 hours of live stream every week that we're writing for. Where used to, those were just posts that were being made. Now we're writing it as content for the channel, content for the shows and live streams. And so really when you say, how do we get it out there? I'm going to cram it down your throat. If you type in drag and drive, we're probably going to come up. And if we don't, we're going to very soon when you start, because I've just volume, absolute volume. 2022, 2023 was almost the same. 2024, we weren't quite there. I think we only made like 1,800 posts or something like that. So.
But you guys have helped, right? Like just like with you see like Sick Week, you see like Rocky Mountain, all those things. You guys have helped really put drag and drive on the map of not just what those areas are doing, what those tracks are doing, what those promoters are doing, whatnot, but like you said, giving recognition where recognition is due. And that is very difficult to retain all that data and remember like, hey, this guy ran this number, he ran his best there, it's a lot. So you guys have helped with that a lot.
Here's the biggest benefit, right? So for automotive guys, a lot of true car guys are into everything. We like everything. We like everybody's car. We like everybody's build. We like drifting, drag racing, mud trucks,
Right.
burnout, all that kind of stuff. So when a brand is started, a lot of times those guys they'll cover everything. And they never niche down. Well, that was my entire plan with Drag Driver Pete, was to niche down as small as we could to get to the core of a community. Now it's because I love this community. This is the best community out there. Again, I'll say it all the time, but I knew that I was going to be following those racers, going to those events, doing that kind of stuff. And so before the stat side of stuff even became a thought in my mind, it was that there's 300 people at Sick Week 2022, right? So I started the brand January 30th or 31st, 2022. Sick Week started like February 1st. So it was literally the day before. Before that, I had been posting on Narcoleptic. Okay, everything was. I was still covering drag and drive stuff, but not to this level. And so with the brand now I have the thought process of like, hey, I've got to take care of this brand. I got to figure out how to get. Basically, I'm selfish. How can Eric and I talk about drag and drive all the time, every day? And with
Yeah.
Narcoleptic, it's very difficult for brands to get sponsors, right? So we went into it with a news mentality. Drag Illustrated, Wes Buck, and that team over there, Mike Carpenter,
Yep.
are huge inspirations of mine. And so what
Yeah.
they do with Drag Illustrated, I basically wanted to do with Drag and Drive,
Drag and Drive.
Drag Driver Pete. And so if you're going to talk about everybody, now suddenly everybody shares your stuff because you're talking
Yeah.
about them.
Yeah.
Where with Narcoleptic, I was sharing my point of view, my races, my stuff, the builds that my brother's doing, all that kind of stuff. That channel is still going. I just don't spend as much time on it, obviously. So with that whole thing, it was like, I've got to niche down. I've got to find what I truly like, which was Drag and Drive. And how can I take what I've learned from Narcoleptic and just, I don't know, man, talk about it every day, all day. It's all I think about. It's really all I think about. And now with 40 events, there are more than 5,000 people that will race drag and drive, probably 3,500 unique racers across the world. It's really, truly probably the fastest growing automotive community in the world right now.
Have you,
Yeah.
and both Nat and I are big on niching. Motorhead Digital, right? I've been in this business for 28 years, marketing, website development stuff. But when I niched down to Motorhead Digital, it was a huge difference in, how I talked about the business, my target audience, and our profits, right? And even with this podcast, we have a specific niche we focus on, well, two, and it helps you focus more on what you're doing. But question I have, what you said about the growth of Drag and Drive, do you feel that your podcast has helped it grow?
I would hope. I know Sick the Magazine, big shout out to those guys, Derek Putnam, Luke Newhoff, Tom Bailey, obviously owner, creator. They've helped a ton. They've been voted, Sick Week's been voted twice now, like USA #1 motorsports event. Huge kudos to them. They've helped tremendously in the community. When you start looking, there's not many folks that cover drag and drive because it's still not a very big community, right? In 2022, there were like 1,100 people. Well, there were 900 people at the Big Go in Indy that year.
Right.
So you start looking like it took all year to get 1,100. Now we're like 3,500. But in the automotive community, it's still so very small. So I would be doing this if Drag and Drive had 50,000 people racing every year. But luckily, we started when it was small, and it's exploded since then. So from there, we did it at the right time. Again, I would do this if it had a whole bunch of people. I'm not a Top Fuel guy. I'm not I do pro mod stuff with Midwest, but I'm not like a Midwest guy. I want to drive that stuff on the street. I want to see that car at a gas station. I want to see that car in the hotel parking lot. And so when you niche down, again, you've just got to go all in. You can't sugarfoot some thing on the side and think, oh, well, hey, right now pro mods are hot, because they are. Oh man, right now jet boat racing is hot. I'm going to go over there for a little bit. You can't do that. You've got to find your community and go for it. So I would like to say, I hope we do that, but we've been fighting. This is one of the hardest struggles I talk about almost every day with Eric White. We are 400 people from 100,000 followers, and we've been 300 to 700 people from 100,000 followers for like 6 months now.
Man,
It's
all
like,
you need to do is reach out to Cletus. Cletus
oh,
could get you there in like a hot second. Like, do you know
yeah,
how many people like he's like
I
worked
know.
with that were like
Yep,
this close to something? And like, man, it's crazy. And he does
yep.
that kind of stuff too.
Well, yeah, and that's probably the other side of our stuff too, is within the drag and drive community, having such a small demographic, small group of people. Those guys are gods to us.
Mhm.
I mean, they're those people that race at that level, the big influencers, Mike Finnegan, Cletus, Tom,
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff. We are going to have to do a little bit of celebrity chasing this year. We've typically shied away from chasing and only focusing on them because there's so many stories. Everybody says all the time, each car has a story, blah, blah, blah. But like when you're drag and drive racing, you really do. Like there's a 12-second car that blew their motor up last night and they fixed it in the parking lot with bubble gum and zip ties, and that car's still racing today. They put JB Weld on the side of the oil pan, and that's the story you can tell because that 12-second car, which is the largest group of all drag and drive racers, 12 second 12 to 1299 is the biggest group of racers. Those guys are sitting at home, and if those big influencers get all the attention, they think I've got to have an 850 car. I've got to have a 7-second car to get any kind of attention. So for the whole time, we've always focused on the story, no matter how fast the car is. What's the story? What's it set up? What's the history? All of that goes along with almost each and every car that's out there. So we are going to have to do a little bit of celebrity chasing this year because dadgummit, I want 100,000 followers. Like we're 406 away this morning, and I'm frustrated. So maybe by the time this comes out, we'll be at 100, and we can put that little banner above me here.
Mike's like every day, like looking at his numbers, like
Oh, I
move
do.
just a
I
little
do.
bit.
What's crazy to me is when you start doing that, y'all know this. When you start doing that, you're like, why did I lose 8 followers yesterday? Why?
Well, I don't look at the
Where did
numbers.
they go? What did I say? What did I do?
Right.
It's probably just
You're right.
bots
Was my
anyways.
hair
But
not right that day?
yeah,
What's happening?
hair. What was that?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not wrong in the perspective of, like being strategic about what and how you present your information and what your intent is, right? And when you're building social media, it is super important to remember that you need to have a strategy behind it. That when you do decide to because trust me, I know tons of businesses who are like, oh, we're just going to willy-nilly start posting stuff because that's what we're supposed to do. Right. But the reality of it is that if you're not strategic in that process, why waste your time doing it right now? Because you're not making any value.
And for us, from the very beginning, everything posted on Drag Drive Repeat is drag and drive related. There's probably 5 posts ever that were about pro mod stuff, that from my work with Midwest Drag Race Series. And a lot of times, if there's 5 other posts on there, 3 of those are about something within a drag and drive, why it's related to that. And that was one of the biggest things we really pushed for that, because I have my own personal brand, right? I have Michael Narx. I can do whatever I want to with that one. And that's where I post all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at your social media, if somebody's looking for drag and drive and they come to your page and it's all pro mods and jet boats and
Right.
whatever Cletus is doing tomorrow, then you end up like you're growing the wrong brand. Like we wanted to be the source for news and entertainment from the drag and drive community. We wanted to be where people go if they want info. And so we're building out a huge backside of the website. I'm a stats guy. I love the stats behind everything. How many people have raced what cars did what, everything like that. So forever, we've never not many events collect mile per hour. So we don't know what the record for mile per hour is at certain events. We don't know what reaction time stuff is.
Right.
330 times are, because all they cared about was if it was a quarter mile path, they got quarter mile ET so you could run your average by the end of the week.
Right.
That becomes a problem 20 years into a community because now it's gaining traction. But if you look at NHRA, there's 8th mile, oh man, first person to 300 miles an hour in the 8th. We don't know what any of that was. Who was the first person to go 150 in the 8th? Nobody knows.
Right.
Who was the first person to go 7s? We can tell you that. Who was the first person to do that? We can tell you that kind of stuff. But that's where I want to go with it. I want to be the NHRA stats of drag and drive, and we'll eventually get there. There's some stuff we're working on to try and make that possible. But At a drag and drive, you're at 4 different tracks in 5 days. So not only as a event person, you're racing different stuff, but now if I'm a stat guy, I need to go to each track. 105 tracks were raced in 2024. I need to go to 105 tracks and try and get that data, right?
Oh my gosh.
Well, the event staff do not care about that.
No.
Have zero care because they're just trying to keep their stuff together. So
Right.
trying to collect all the time slips from these racers. So, how can we make that better? Can we make it an automated system where it automatically updates their ETs?
Right.
Who knows?
Right.
Is that possible? Now, if you can do that, how do you do that at 4 tracks in a week? So, there's
You
a
almost
lot
have to
of
have
fun
like
stuff.
some kind of system that plugs into the tower computer so that, like you said, it just kind of, like downloads that data into something for you. Like that would be optimal.
Right. And so here's the struggle, right? So May 30th through June 1st, there are 5 different events that are being hosted. So if you're going to do that, do you only focus on that one big event for that weekend? Or do you buy 5 different processes like that, send it to each promoter, then they give it to their staff. Their staff is supposed to plug that in as part of their normal process. So then I can collect that data. Right?
Good luck with
Specific
that.
instructions on how to plug it in and use it, and they throw it out the window, or like,
or they leave
I'm not doing all this. I got other stuff to do.
Yeah, 100%. So we're really kind of we want to take drag and drive to that next level. I think that is how we do it because then it allows a lot more just talking points. How many times have you heard about the reaction time of Top Fuel or Funny Car, all that kind of stuff? When they're talking about it, we have no idea what reaction time is in drag and drive. So a couple years ago, they implemented like a 1 second rule for reaction time because before those guys would turn the light green and then spool the turbo so they could get the best possible pass, because that's what you want in drag and drive is your most the best pass you can possibly get. Well, if you're worried about cutting the light, that's not a stress you need because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So those guys would turn the light green, then spool up and boost and be on the line for 7 seconds, waiting for the car to come up to the right spot and then release and make their best pass. So they implemented the 1 second rule to kind of help speed things up now that we're getting 250, 300, 350 cars at each event.
Man, I'll do some brainstorming for you best I can. So I used to our home track, Sacramento Raceway, closed down in December 2023, and I'm super sad about that. Super sucks.
People don't understand how nice it is having a closed track.
Man, like 20 minutes, backyard. It was so amazing for 20 years. Loved it. But I worked in the tower. And so like same thing, like I, inputted all the cars and, like got everybody through rounds, whatnot. And you're right. 100%. Like the people in the tower were like, I'm just trying to get through my damn day. Like, am I going to get lunch today? Do I get a potty break? Like what is happening right now?
They're today they're making $15 an hour. They're doing it because they love it. They have
100%.
They have another job that pays their stuff, and they do that for extra money. And because, there's a lady, Dana, at Tulsa Raceway Park, and she works every event in the tower, inputting numbers, inputting all the data, all that kind of stuff. Her husband races. So he does tech and a lot of the other stuff at the track when he's not racing, but that's why she started being there. And so you end up with that. Now I've got to ask him to plug in this machine so I can get data while I'm at home trying to play. It's just not going to work yet. We're going to figure out a way. But again, who cares about reaction time on a drag and drive when there's no, okay, somebody cut a perfect light. That's not going to do anything.
Yeah, that's you'll figure it out, I'm sure. So I've been following drag racing, NASCAR, all sorts of racing through the years. I'm not a statistician and stuff like that. What I have seen is other series and even concerns about drag and drive is they start out grassroots, then they grow, then we start getting sponsors involved. I don't even know if there's sponsors involved with drag and drive. But what does happen a lot of times is it gets so expensive that guys can't. They're not having fun because they have to dump a shit ton of money into their cars to compete with other guys, right? So I don't know where's that going with drag and drive? Because I see that as a problem in all motorsports as it happens.
Hey, listen, we're competitive people, man. Like if you tell me, hey, I need to go to this amount of speed to get there and win this class, that's what we're going to do, right? One big benefit to drag and drive over some other traditional style racing is there's not like you win a plaque. Okay. There's not huge money in this like there is in NHRA, all that kind of stuff. Midwest Drag Race Series, those pro mod guys can win 20 grand. Well, that'll pay for a weekend of racing and some other stuff. That, that 20,000 to win that pro mod race, you may end up, that may fund your fuel and food for the tracks all year, right? So that's important. For drag and drive, it really kind of is like a car guy vacation, right? We're not trying to set the world on fire. We're trying to survive. That's probably the biggest change too. But as we see more events come up, as we see more payouts, like Rocky Mountain Race Week, Mega Week this year, they're giving out like $70,000 worth of money. But the only way to win it is to finish the week. So they'll base your placement or your ladder, or if you even get into that race, on your average time. So as it grows, things will become easier. We're seeing a lot of events that should be called True Street that are being called drag and drive because it's a hot name right now. So as that begins to, you have more events that are 40 to 60 miles, 40 to 70 miles, calling themselves a drag and drive, one drive. We're not going to collect that data. Like I'll collect the names and the stuff. We're going to talk about it because it's named a drag and drive. It's a lot of drag and drive racers that are in it. And we want to give them the recognition and things like that. But I think as we see more, one of the biggest promoters I think of, Donald Long, let that guy get a hold of a drag and drive. He right.
Talk about building some controversy.
Yeah. So as these guys, and I think they have to participate in an event to understand really what it is. So we're seeing a lot of promoters that have never raced a drag and drive host their own. And that lasts about 1 year because one, it's hard as hell to host a drag and drive, not promote a drag and drive, host a drag and drive, because now you're not just working with one track, you're working with 2, 3, 4 tracks.
Yeah.
That's expensive, really, really expensive. And you're also trying to give those racers an experience. So with the event we host called the Circuit, it's charity based. So, there's profit that we would have that is out the window now because we're giving it to charity, right? When you start looking at how to take care of folks and do a racer party, we do a racer pre-party, we do a racer party on Saturday night. We feed people 3 different times throughout the weekend, and it's just a weekend event. When you're a normal promoter, you're not even considering feeding your racers. You're like, I hope they buy at the concession stand, and I hope I get that 5 or 10% from the concession stand. Folks don't find that out until after they've had a shitty drag and drive experience and promotion, because they're like, man, I didn't sell the tickets. I thought if I just hosted this, I'd have 300 people here. That was how I was going to make my money. Well, if you're new, again, you're just going to have to overcome it. You're going to have to be the loudest voice in the squeakiest wheel on the cart,
Yeah.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Motorhead Digital. Motorhead Digital are digital marketing experts for your automotive aftermarket, restoration, performance, race, and restyling shop. They help you supercharge your shop's website, social media, and entire online presence to attract those badass customers you're looking for. Check us out at motorheaddigital.com.
And like when you mentioned, they've got they don't get a chance to win until they finish the race, right? But that also means that they have to meet all their check-ins and they have to do all the due diligence of like what the criteria is, right? Yep. So like, again, in my only experience to date with Redwood Rally was, being there and watching all the drivers come check in at, like the event and be like, okay, here's my picture, here's, like what I did, like, all those things. And it's like really crazy to see like everybody's in this. So the only thing I can really compare it to is I covered Street Outlaws for a year and a half. And, you're like on this same circus, right? Everybody's traveling in that particular situation, state to state, town to town, racetrack to racetrack. Everybody has the same woes, the same victories, the same whatever, right? You're like this band of brothers, so to speak. And it's no different for drag and drive, right? Like you're just going from track to track. You're, like hauling ass to do what you can, best as you can, and hoping that everything stays together so that you can get to the next checkpoint.
Yep. You hope an alternator didn't go out at, 2 a.m. and you're stuck on the side of the road for 6 hours till the closest parts store opens up,
100%.
Yeah.
One thing that I did see with that, you're talking about getting stuck on the side of the road. I did read something recently. Guys broke down and everybody pitches in to help. They help get him back on the track. It's not like I'm not going to help him because he might beat me, right? So I think that's cool as far as community. We talk about that with just the automotive community in general. I've had a lot of business associates or friends now. A lot of clients are friends in this space. It's cool. But I mentioned sponsorship. How does that factor in? And Annette knows way more about sponsorships than I do. But how's that factor in, and how is that coming into Drag and Drive?
So we're seeing a lot of stuff, big shout out to Summit Racing. They're really kind of leading the charge on a lot of that. We're seeing what was once grassroots style stuff. Rocky Mountain Race Week does this incredibly well. They have a lot of local businesses. When they raced at Bandamere, a lot of Denver-based businesses that were coming on board. Now we're seeing that growth a little bit, like Summit, Deechworks is our newest sponsor, fuel systems, things like that. Like we're seeing these big companies take notice. Us, it's because they can help the community. That's one of our biggest things with the finding sponsors for our stuff is that, hey, how can Deechworks help? How can Ryan at Performer Built Transmissions help the community? How can we give that info out there so people can understand? And I mean, shoot, I've given his number to people at 11 o'clock at night so they could diagnose something with the transmission because they're literally stuck. They have first gear. So when you start looking at that, that's how I think we are growing now as a sport. A lot of these brands, J-Wire Solutions is a sponsor of ours, but he also uses Baker Engineering for his engine, right? Well, when they are out, okay, they're talking about Baker Engineering. Baker Engineering then will, hey, listen, you need to freshen your engine. Maybe they do it for half price. Maybe they do it for a big discount. We're seeing brands kind of take that now, and for this with I had a conversation with the guy the other day that they're growing their brand, and they're like, we need sponsors because we want to do more. We want to participate more. We want to build a new car for this event that's coming up, and sponsors can help with that either through in-kind parts, give stuff, or fuel. Man, just think of the fuel to get from like Ohio to Tulsa, Oklahoma and back. Or like Rich Guido is a great example. This guy drives his 1,500 horsepower GTO stick shift car from Canada to Rocky Mountain Race Week in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He doesn't own a truck and trailer. He drives it to Sick Week, all that kind of, just for the fuel that's used from that car to get there and back, right? So when we say sponsors, everybody always thinks about folks like Molly. They think about these big companies writing big checks. I'll tell you right now, they're not big checks.
Right.
But take what you can get and help that brand become whatever they can be, right? Talk to those brand sponsors and things. But as we begin to see this kind of shift into the VP Race Fuels as a part of Sick Week or Sick the magazine, there's a lot of Isky race cams. We have Howard's cams. Like those guys, basically, you're trying to give those people that are in the community someone to talk to. We want to all have a buddy in the system, right? That's what your sponsor is. And as we begin to see more and more of that come into the community, it'll only help because now a guy that runs 12s this year is going to run 10s next year, and then he's going to run 850s the year after that, or 2 years after.
I like that.
That's a big change. Yeah.
So like getting local businesses involved and other businesses working with other businesses to support a team or something like that.
And for racers that are out there that are putting stuff together, do not just email a brand out of the blue and say, how do I get a sponsorship?
Right.
Put a packet together. You can find media kits all over the world. Put a packet together, make it look professional, be legitimate, figure out what you need to race that year. They're not going to build you a car. I guarantee it, unless you're Mike Finnegan, Cletus, Cooper Bogetti, those kind of racers that are at that level, you're looking for, a lot of times we're looking for money or you need that big part. For us, it's money, to be honest. Parts are great for us. I don't build cars to race. For me, The old truck is just sentimental. I mean, that's why I have it. My brother builds cars that he wants to do. So he's looking for like in-kind parts sometimes, but really for me and Eric and Drag Driver Pete, we're looking for money because that's what it takes for me to get to an event. It's what it takes for me to buy a camera. Like I want a new camera to record these things with. Y'all, that's $4,000.
And that doesn't include any lens.
Oh yeah. I mean, and if you know how life works with two daughters in competitive sports and one's about to turn 16, dropping $4,000 is not something I do. And I'm definitely not going to put it on a credit card because like, am I making the right decision? Because I still have to pay for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's for us. So it's different. Every brand is different. Every person's different. Every racer's different. So you've really got to figure out what you need and then go after sponsors that you spent money with. Dadgummit.
Yeah. So I
want
to visit this a little bit and spend a little bit of time just a bit here. So one thing that I think, especially as it relates to the drag and drive community, is that something that I think that a lot of bigger brands, even the smaller brands, right? Because smaller brands have very specific budgets that they have to work within, right? They're very tight, just like everybody else. Bigger brands have a bit more of a marketing spend. But the thing that I want to get across is that those bigger brands and some of those medium-sized brands need to understand that, they're looking at like, oh, well, we could, sponsor a top fuel car. We could sponsor a pro mod car. We could sponsor a small tire car, whatever, right? But just like you said, like your biggest category in drag and drive is that 12-second car, right? That is the everybody's kind of car, right? So like you're literally talking about, instead of focusing on this huge like payout of, oh, I'm going to have this giant, company or this giant brand, like focus on like that smaller, more like you said, quantity of people, because you're going to get more business that way, right? Your name's going to be out more. You're going to have more coverage. You're going to have more mentions. You're going to have more shout outs. You're going to have all those things because those racers are like, hey, this brand stepped up for me. They did everything that I needed them to do when I needed them to do it. When I was stuck on the side of the road, they stepped up. And so I think that from a sponsorship, you are 100% right. Never go to a brand and be like, hey, I'll put your logo on the side of my car. Nobody cares, right? Be very specific to solve a pain point for them. How are you going to help their brand grow?
Yeah, 100%. And if you tell them you're going to give them exposure, they do not use exposure. Yeah, I'm going to put a logo in your car and we're going to talk about you. What does that mean? What does that mean? When are you going to talk about me? How often are you going to talk about me? How many posts do you a year? How is us giving you this $1,000 instead of giving this other top fuel car $1,000 and they're going to tag us in each post and they make 300 posts a year?
Right.
Tell us what you need,
Right. Well, the best analogy that I heard was somebody had said, and it may have been Megan Myers. I don't remember who said it, but they said, like, if you go to Ford and you say, hey, I want you to sponsor me, I'm going to put your logo on my car. Great. Ford doesn't care because their logo is on 2 places on every car on the road. Do you think exposure is their problem? Probably not.
Yep. And why are you different? You don't have to be different. You can be a 12-second car. You don't even have to be competitive. There's so many real drag racers that do it professionally that are not competitive in their class, but have a great rapport with all the folks. And if you are at an event and you're talking to sponsors that are on site and you build a good relationship with those folks, then you can ask for it later on. Don't literally walk up to, the Summit truck and go, hey, how do you get a sponsorship, man? I'm building this car, blah, blah, blah. They're like, get out of here, dude. Send it to our marketing team. Okay.
100%.
And then you send an email that says, how do I get a sponsorship?
Right. It is definitely all about relationships, right? 100%. Like build that relationship, build that rapport. And the most important thing that I can encourage anybody who's looking for sponsorships to do is use that brand's product or service, right? Don't just go to them and say like, hey, I want you to give me something for free, or I want you to give me money, or whatever it is that you're asking for, but pick a brand that you align with, right? And don't just focus on like, what can I use for my car? Like, like my drag car, but think about like, hey, how'd you get there, right? Your vehicle needs things, your toter needs things, your RV needs things. Like you need I mean, there's like a bazillion things. Like, don't just narrow your focus in on one thing. Barry,
100%. Yeah.
do you have any feedback?
My
I don't have a
my
follow-up
thought
to that. I'm
was,
stuck.
well, when you start talking about that level of stuff, my initial thought, we have Driven Racing Oil as a sponsor. They make, they obviously they have oil, and they do every style, flavor, whatever you can want in oil, they have it, right? But they also have a ton of other stuff. Car waxes, cleaners, all the formulation that can be out there that they want to find out about, they have it. And so you don't necessarily, just like you said, you don't have to have just the oil for your race car. You can now have all kinds of stuff. And I'll tell you what, if you buy a few things from Driven and you like that stuff, man, you see them at a sick event, sick week, whatever, you can go up to them and it gives you an opening. Oh man, look, I changed
Mhm.
the spray wax that I use on my car to y'all stuff, and oh my
Right.
gosh, it's amazing.
Right.
Now suddenly you do that 3 times at not at one event, but like over a year. Now
Yeah.
suddenly they recognize you when you walk up, because I'll tell
Yep.
you what, Bill and Ashley and Robin cover most of the events. So you know what? When you see them again at like drag week, you're
Yeah.
gonna walk up and be like, "Oh, hey, I saw you
Yeah.
guys last time. After we talked, just blah blah blah." That's how you build that relationship, and it probably comes from me being in sales for so long that that's normal to me. Anytime I saw a customer, we talked to them in the service department, all that kind of stuff. But
Right.
that's
Yep.
all the fun stuff with sponsorships. Ask for it. That's all I got to say. But make sure that you
Yeah.
ask the right way, because man,
Yeah.
once you send that crappy email, they're not
You
open
can't take
for
it
next time, I
back.
promise.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Annette Bauer Creative. At Annette Bauer Creative, we understand the power of visual storytelling in transforming brands and driving growth. From capturing the essence of your products and services to showcasing the unique solutions you offer, our professional imagery and reels help bring your brand to life. Fuel your brand and ignite your vision at AnnetteBauerCreative.com.
Yeah.
Right.
And you talk about relationships, right? You're at these events. Where do you go out to dinner? Where do you go to the bar? Hang out and just don't talk business. Just hang out and meet people, get to know them, things like that as well, right? Even after hours when you're not at the track, even.
Yep.
Michael, you've really turned this into your business, your life thing. You're very busy, you travel a lot, but you also have a family. You have a lot of after-hour events with the girls. But what do you do for vacation? I think you mentioned mountain biking and stuff like that. Do they come to the track with you sometimes? And how's that all work?
So my youngest, we're building her a junior street car. She'll be 13 next year, so she'll have a car to race, and maybe that's when she'll get back into it. But for vacations, we're beach folks. Didn't go on one last year because I was building this. We'll be back to the beach the next couple of years just because I need that time away. I have not had any time away. Mountain bike, Bentonville, Arkansas is one of the hottest mountain bike cities in the country. And so when I had a corporate job and I had time, we would we literally kept our bikes. Tommy Wyatt, my boss then, big shout out to him. We kept our bikes in the office. And so we had, a shower downstairs, a gym and all that kind of stuff. And so we would literally change in the closet, jump on our bicycles and ride 10 or 12, 15 miles, something like that at lunch
Oh
on
my
mountain
gosh.
bike trails that were a mile from the office, and then come back, shower downstairs, not together, and then go back to work. So I want to clarify that. It sounded like I said we both went in the closet at the same time. We did not. But we would do that. And so that, I have a full suspension, I have a hardtail, all that kind of stuff that you do. It basically gave me a whole other hobby. And so, I went down the rabbit hole of, do I start a brand with that, and started that and recorded and edited, and then drag and drive took over. But yeah, I mean, that's what we do for part-time fun is a mountain bike, and then we vacation at the beach when we're able to.
That's
So we're
awesome.
going to the beach this year for sure. I don't care what it takes. It may be September before we go, but we're going.
Yeah, I was just in St. Thomas about a month ago, so that was fun.
Nice.
We do hit
Yeah.
the beach, try to do that once a year.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the hardest part for me is to unplug. You guys know it. You're working all the time. This is
Yeah.
available 24/7 in your pocket. It buzzes, it rings. You have a post, you make a post, and you got to follow it, make sure it did well.
Unplug?
Because not,
I don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
What's that?
Yeah.
I
don't
own
know.
a business. My
Yeah.
brain, I wake up
Well,
at 3 a.m. thinking about business.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, and so, you're talking about Motorhead Digital. Part of my life, what it really allowed me to, I'll tell the story real quick. After I left my corporate job, I did 6 months with just Drag Drive Repeat, right? I had the savings and I had sponsorships that got me through 6 months. At that point, I didn't know that it was going to take 3 or 4 months for sponsors to get you your money the next year. So I got a little job, Bob Maloney Collision Center here in town, tearing cars apart, right? Because I had X amount of dollars that were going to last me a few more months. But to get there, I needed another X amount of dollars. Basically, I needed like a $15 an hour job, 40 hours a week. Well, that was tough to go back to. One. Secondary, I was at that job all day, right? So I didn't have time to spend. I lost the 40 hours that I was spending on Drag Driver Peak. So in the mix of all that, big shout out to Daniel Green, Danny Diesel on YouTube and Facebook and stuff. He brought me into Midwest Drag Race Series as just a production guy, like running a camera, setup, tear down, all the kind of stuff, right? Well, then Danny moves to Thailand to race diesel trucks in Thailand. And so
Heck yeah.
my growth with Midwest has turned into now I'm the social media manager, marketing director for Tulsa Raceway Park, Tulsa Speedway. I do a lot for the Midwest Drag Race Series. I'm not necessarily that Ellen Eschenbacher is that for that brand. And then Keith Haney Racing, I do a lot of most of the stuff you see for Keith Haney Racing Pro Mod is me posting. So
Nice.
I basically replaced the Bob Maloney job with that stuff, which allows me to be at home, allows me to work on social media stuff all day, so I can figure out, hey, that worked for Tulsa, that worked for Keith Racing. I'm going to do that same format for Drag Drive Repeat, or this worked on Drag Drive Repeat. I can use it over here and learn from there. So Motorhead Digital, the reason all that conversation happened is because my thought process is there are so many tracks that are out there that need better content, social media. They just need that interaction with people and the community that's out there. And so we're looking at possibly starting some kind of, I've got to figure out the right process. What is, that's a whole new learning aspect for me on my side is like, what is the proper posting schedule for a track leading up to a race day, and what races deserve more and less and all of that. So I'm learning all of that. So Motorhead Digital is, something I follow a lot too, because that's how you go from having something like a hobby, which is, I mean, really Drag Drive Repeat is more than a hobby to me. But when you look at it income wise, a lot of people would consider it a hobby. It's just enough of a hobby that I can earn a living to pay my bills. I mean, I'm definitely barely paying my bills to do this. So we need another something that can do that. And if I'm going to do that, I might as well build some kind of brand that helps other brands build their stuff.
There
that
you
still
go.
says
Digital marketing agency, right? We're very focused with guardrails and everything, and that will tell you I need to do better with our social media, but we're getting there. I've been focusing on other stuff. It's literally a half an hour yesterday fiddling with the post for a new sponsor. I'm like,
people just go, "Oh, dude, just make a post real quick." I'm like, no.
It doesn't.
No. I have to go into Photoshop. I have to build this whole thing out to make one post. That's literally about that. We're moving the time from 7:30 to 7. Took me 45 minutes to make that post. They're like, "Oh, just make a post real quick about that we're moving the start time from 7:30 to 7." No problem.
That half hour
Then
didn't
another 20
include, and
minutes
that's
on the write up.
creating a great graphic. I forgot to mention that, and that creates the graphics now. I acquiesced to her on graphics design. But yeah, it's you want to do it right, and you put a lot of thought into it and stuff, and seems to take longer than I want it to.
Right? When somebody sees it, I want them to be like, "Oh, cool." I don't want just to see a post with words that we're starting at 7 instead of 7:30. So, and that's the hard part, because you do that with 7 brands or 6 brands in an event, and now suddenly you've spent that's 7 hours literally making one post a day. And hey, that's not even talking about editing video. I edited 4 hours yesterday on a teaser video for Yellow Belly for Keith Haney Racing. So, now I've got to spend another 8 hours on the real video.
And you'll find that when you start having customers to deal with, you're going to focus on them more than you're going to focus on your stuff, because your stuff, my stuff gets left behind all the time.
Yep. So
Anyway.
the circuit, we had we had to reschedule dates. We allowed people to get refunds. I spent 3 hours yesterday doing refunds because the vote, you have to do it manually, individually. So you can't just say, "Hey, do this," and it does it. So yeah, so did that for 3 hours yesterday too. You know what I mean? Like you just run out of time, so I worked till midnight.
Very cool. Well, we have learned a ton about you, Mike, and I love what you do. Huge fan of the whole drag and drive scene. So I love what your participation is in it. I love that you guys are niched down to really share and recognize all those people who are out just having a ton of fun. That community is amazing. And I continue to watch and see what's happening. Again, I'm hoping I can get back to Redwood Rally again this year, but I'm working through that. I'm looking forward to see what you guys continue to put out. But as we kind of wrap up the podcast, one of the things that we absolutely love doing is our speed round. So again, if you've watched the show, you know that this is something that we do every episode, and I don't want you to think too hard about your responses. Just give me what comes off the top of your head. So first question is, what is your favorite driver, hot rod, muscle car, or truck?
Ooh, if I was going to build something, my dad had a 73 Nova, it'd probably be something like that. I would do, big single turbo, small tire car.
Oh, so you're a turbo guy over, like, what is your thought process about your power adder?
Yeah, big single. I'm not a twin turbo guy. I want it to, Matt Happel at Slapping Mechanics says it best. I want it to hit you in the face. You know, like you're already going to put a big converter in it. So you might as well let that baby eat and, bigger the better, 98 Pro Mod stuff on street cars.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. What's your favorite tool in your toolbox?
Probably this right here, to be honest. My brother will tell you the same thing. I'm on this thing all the time. Document. Get that stuff, because when you get old, you're not going to remember all the cool stuff you did. So take
100%.
photos, post photos. I don't know if Facebook will ever go away, but that, and then probably the plasma cutter. If a real tool. Yeah, that was a game changer when we were building stuff in my shop. And obviously, I mean, he builds cars all day, every day, so he uses his plasma cutter every day.
We're learning that too, and this is the first guest we've had that said their favorite tool is their cell phone and things like that, right? But with a plasma cutter, we have one. Keith tested it out for the first time about a week ago. We're like, oh my God, this is amazing.
It'll change your life. It will, because now you take, I know you guys do a lot of restoration stuff. Instead of going through 74 grinding wheels a week, now you're going to go through, one.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing. I love it. Yeah. Yeah.
Love it. Do you have a favorite track, event, or show?
Man, this is a great one. So tracks, top 3, Bristol. Amazing, beautiful, just love that place. If you have not been to Bristol Dragway, you need to do that. The way the sun comes up in the morning and that those cars are racing towards the valley is one of the most beautiful places on earth. Vandermeer was amazing, absolutely gorgeous, super cool track. I'm heartbroken they're not going to do that anymore.
100%.
Vandermeer there. And then favorite event is Rocky Mountain Race Week. A lot of other drag and drives that are out there. Rocky Mountain really kind of pioneered the racing at night, which I feel like is the key to more spectators. It's the key to with like drag week and sick events, you race in the mornings and then you drive in the afternoon. You spend all of your adrenaline in the mornings, then you get in your car and you're tired and you drive in the heat of the day. With Rocky Mountain, you're driving all day, right? So you can start as early as you want to. You can drive all day. So it's getting hotter as the time goes. But then as the racing starts, it only gets better. So, they race 3 to 10. And so as you get later in the night, it gets better. Racing gets better. People can hang out. It gives more opportunity for a lot more spectator involvement and things like that. So Rocky Mountain, number 1 event for me.
So actually that brings up a good point that so my husband does track prep. I've helped him for years doing it. And one of the things, especially depending on where you are, right, geographically, when you race in the evening time, as you get to about that 6-7 o'clock hour, right, the track starts to get tighter. Everything seems to get a little bit better. Sometimes the air comes in, like all those things help. But that does create a different challenge, especially for people who don't do drag racing all the time, right? Because now they don't really know how to change their tune to fit like a tighter track. They don't even know how to read the track a lot of times. So, that can definitely bring in some challenges too.
Well, and think about this, like we talked about the 12-second range, right? The Rocky Mountain Race Week they really pioneered the index racing. So they do 9 through 14.0 index. Each 00 has its own index class. So think about having a car that runs 12 teens. Now, suddenly you're used to running that at 7 o'clock at night at your local track. It runs 12 teens consistent. You can get into the 12 every now and then. Now the weather's better, the track is better, everything. Now you go 1198. Oh, crap, I can't turn that in. Can't turn it in. So now you've got to go back and make another pass. So what's really cool about Rocky Mountain is you end up, there's racing all night long, where at some of the other events that race during the day, people are out of there by 11, because it's getting hot. They made their pass that's good, all that kind of stuff. So at Rocky Mountain, they've got their pass made. Now they're like, man, I'm going to wait till this DA drops a little bit more and I'm fixing to hit, So anyways, Rocky Mountain Race Week, number one. Love those guys. Matt and June are amazing people. Adam Dory is their announcer. Y'all need to have him on too. He's building out. He's just quit his corporate job and is a full-time announcer now.
Very cool. Wow. Very cool. So last question, this stumps everybody, so don't feel like you'll be out. But what is the best advice you've ever received and from whom?
Really, Daniel Green. He told me, if you want it, go for it. And I know that's probably a stupid thing, but this guy sold everything he owned and moved into his truck and race car trailer and drove across the country. Didn't know anything about drag racing, and he's been a huge motivation for me. So really, like him just doing it and then just telling me, hey, go after it. And I did. There's a lot of people that work jobs for 25 years and man, I would do this if I had this. I would do this if I had that. I mean, it took 2 or 3 years of good smart planning, but I was able to do it, and I hadn't had to have a real job since then. Like with the Tulsa and all the Keith Haney stuff, I do that when I work on it. I don't clock in 8 o'clock in the morning and work till 2 o'clock every day on that stuff. So Daniel Green, big shout out to him.
Nice. Very, very cool.
That's it. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks, Mike, for joining us today. Can you tell people how to find you? Not like we've said drag and drive repeat 100 times already.
Yeah. So drag drive repeat is the main place to find me. Also Michael Narx on Facebook. My dog is growling at somebody. Michael Narx on Facebook. There are 2 Michael Narxes. I'm the guy holding the camera when you're watching or listening to this. That's a great place to follow. That's where you'll find everything I do. Tulsa stuff, pro mod stuff, dragster stuff, all that. Everything goes on Michael Narx. And then, that's probably the best. Tulsa Raceway Park, big two huge events coming up. We've got the First Time Funny Car Chaos is coming to the track next weekend, April 25th and 26th. If you missed that, hey, you missed a big one. And then May 9th and 10th is the Throwdown in T-Town, the biggest race of the year. This is going to be great. 25,000 spectators, pro mods, jet cars, and it's free to get in. $25 per car to park. Fill everybody up. Bring a bus. We don't care. So I'm excited. Yeah. You can find me at Tulsa Race. Hey, let me run through these real quick. Sorry. Tulsa Raceway Park, Tulsa Speedway, Keith Haney Racing, Midwest Drag Race Series, Drag Drive Repeat, Narx Leptic Customs, and Mike Narx. That's where you can find me.
There you go. Everywhere.
Yeah.
Just do a search.
Have you ever been to Tulsa Raceway? No. So I went a couple of years ago when we were doing the Street Outlaw stuff, and it was pretty cool. Definitely a cool facility. I always love going to new tracks and just seeing what their layout is and seeing how everybody gets around, how the announcers work, like just in general, how the track works. And I just remember like I remember standing on the starting line and a couple of cars were, getting ready to do some burnouts, and like a wind picked up and was going across the track. They did their burnouts and like every bit of rubber stuck right to me. And I was like, cool. Okay. So this is how we're going to start today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And one thing that's great about Tulsa is that it's owned by racers. Both Todd Martin and Keith Haney are pro mod racers and have been drag racers forever, and they've owned it for like 15 years. So they care about how it all works. Jimmy Bowles is the track manager there. I don't know how that guy stays on top of stuff, because we have 100 race days at Tulsa Raceway Park a year, and then another 26 at the Tulsa Speedway, which is on the same facility. So he
Dang.
takes care of tons and thousands and thousands of people. What's really cool, they did a economic impact study last year, $83 million a year funneled through Tulsa because of the racetracks.
That's
So pretty,
huge.
Heck yeah.
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
I wish that counties and cities would do more stats like that, right? I think that if Sacramento had cared more about what was happening to the economy because of the track, it would have had a greater opportunity to stay around. But like communities move in, right? Just like Cletus is experiencing right now, is that communities move in and they're like, I don't care if the racetrack has been there for 50 years, 100 years, or 10 days. I live here now and I want it to be gone. Yes, I knew it was here when I bought my house, but I don't care. And I'm like, really? Get out of here.
Yeah. And that's the way it works, man. That's everybody moves in, because here's the other side of it too. They're looking at houses on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. There's no cars making passes Tuesdays at 5 p.m. If they were looking Saturday at 5 p.m., they'd be like, we're going to hear that every weekend, 4 days a week. We're going to hear that. No way. I'm not.
And only if you're the cool people, you're like, heck yeah, I'm buying a house here.
Yeah. Oh, I literally was like, man, I wonder if they'll have if it'll butt up and they'll have a back drive, because I will buy that house.
The same way with gun clubs. We have the same problem with gun ranges around here, right? I've been there 100 years and the neighbors are complaining. And most of the time it's some nights and weekends. Yeah, same problems. Like, do your freaking homework, right? So it's an uphill battle for both those sports.
Yep. I will say Tulsa they paid for the impact study, and it's really opened the eyes to the local politicians.
Well, that's the thing for tracks to think about, right? Is to, hey, if you want to stay valid, you maybe put some money into that besides lawyers, do an impact study so you can show the community, hey, this is important, because the community's not going to do it. They don't care. They're not going to spend that money for an impact study.
Yep.
Yeah. 100%.
So cool.
I agree. Well, I want to say thank you guys so much. I love the show. I listen all the time. Every time y'all drop a new one, I have a lot of windshield time, so that's when I consume my podcast. And I love the show. I love the guests you guys have had on. The Vaughn, what was his first name, with the C10 truck stuff, the level 7.
Jesse.
I love that episode. Yep, that was a great one. And then you had one. I think it was your most recent one. I really enjoyed that. I love that you guys talk about how to get the youth involved and all that stuff. We didn't touch on that today, but we're going to when I'm on here for round 2.
Let's plan for that. And
we know you don't want to miss an episode, so don't forget to smash that bell so that you get notified of every new episode. Click that like button, leave us a comment, and share with your people. And visit us repeatedly. We love it.